Welcome to Speaking of That, where communicating with youth becomes an art. With over 46 combined years of experience, my daughter and I share what we learn about connecting with youth through laughter, learning, and especially heart. And along the way, you'll discover why your story matters.
Today, we are answering some Q&A questions. So we've got some DMs here. If you have any questions about public speaking, slide them into our DMs, Youth Speaker Blueprint on Instagram, or you can also email us at ray@raylozano.com. Now, this show is not sponsored, but we do want to plug the program that we started, which is the Youth Speaker Blueprint. It's a practical program to take people from, I think I have a story, but I have no idea what it is, giving them the tips and tricks that work, and helping them develop a story from something that might seem kind of meaningless. So what I love about it is it's your stories, your passion, What I love about it is it's your stories, your passion, just with tips and tricks that are proven to work, proven to put a story together. So really exciting stuff.
Yeah, so this one we got some emails with some questions, but anytime we're on the road, which we're on the road right now, you can tell by our different background, we're at an Airbnb. We always have people that ask us these questions over and over and over again. So I love that we're doing a question and answer today. Super fun. So what's one of the questions we got?
All right, first question, and we kind of have them grouped by category. So a lot of them today are about nerves, which I know is something big topic.
Oh, that's a big topic. Yeah.
First question, hey, I really want to get into public speaking, but every time I even think about getting up in front of people, I get super nervous, like shaky hands, heart racing, the whole deal. How do I handle that?
Ah, man, I remember those days. Yeah, you get up there. And then I'll tell you what is the worst thing is your brain goes blank.
Oh, yeah.
Like as soon as you do your opening and they're like, oh. But you know, I've taken those nerves and I've really worked them and reworked them, and I've listened to them like, why am I feeling this way? Am I not prepared with the information? Is it something that's way out there? And the times that I get nervous is when I'm speaking on something I don't know about. Oh, yeah. And so if I have to, like, if they give me, like, before I walk up there, talk about this study or cover this information about it, and that's when I actually still get nervous after 36 years of doing this. But otherwise, I'm telling my story. I'm telling something that I lived, something that you lived, something that we went through. And when I look out over the audience, I don't look at like today, 800 kids looking back at us. I look at it like me telling this kid a story. And that really helps with my nervousness quite a bit. Yeah. But I totally understand, because that is, I think, what stops people from speaking. But let me tell you this, if you can overcome those nerves, that's where you start making the money. Because if you look around, if you ask any of your friends, are you nervous to speak? 9 out of 10 are going to say yes, right? But that one who says, you know what, I'm willing to overcome that, that's when you start making, money speaking, because you're willing to do something other people aren't willing to do.
That is so true. And I know when I first started, I was telling, a lot of my own story and stuff, but even still, I was nervous.
Right.
I was still nervous telling my story. And even when I did really know that I knew what I was talking about, especially early in the beginning, I was still really nervous.
Right.
And so my trick that I tell people is I realized in high school that if I wanted to do a presentation to the high school class kind of thing, I was like, it's really similar to if I watched like a really cool YouTube video or a really cool Netflix show, right? And we all go to our friends and like, dude, let me tell you about this show. That show was so cool. You describe every bit of it, right? You know exactly what you want to talk about. Yes. Yeah. And so I realized, if I just pretend that the information I learned is something I learned from a cool Netflix show or something like that, and I treat it like that, and I treat the audience like they're all my best friends, it kind of helps, where it's just like, it's not really that scary. I'm just sharing information.
Right.
I'm sharing information that I want these people to have, And so it is really easy to get nervous, and it's easy to get in the mind space that like these people are judging me.
Right.
And I think a better mind space to be in isn't am I doing okay? Are these people judging me?
Mhm.
But it's the mission.
Mm-hmm.
It's the,
oh gosh, that's great. Yes.
this information is so important,
Mm-hmm.
or this message is so important that I got to push through to make sure that they get it.
Right.
So I think that's one thing that definitely helped me. But I love what you said, because the thing that honestly helped me the most
Mm-hmm.
was just doing it.
Yeah.
Just doing it and doing it
Right.
and doing it. And it for sure takes like a few years. I mean, depending on the person,
Right.
you know,
Right.
maybe a few years to absolutely not feel nervous.
Uh-huh.
But it's less and less each time. And then, yeah, just doing it and getting more practice, definitely the nerves go down eventually.
Yeah, no, that is so true. The nerves go down, but then what you have to be cautious with, and what I've done with my career, is sometimes people's nerves go way down to the point where they don't keep developing and they don't feel nervous anymore. So I know every year I change a little bit of information, I add a new story, and when I go up there to do it, I've already practiced it a million times, but there is that little bit of nervousness. Because the nervousness is what I'm looking for, because what it means is my brain's trying to stretch. It's not sure what's going to happen. It's not sure what's going to take place. Because I have speaker friends that I've talked to and like, do you still feel nervous? Like, no, I've been doing this for 20 years. Why would I feel nervous? And I'll ask them, when's the last time you changed your information? Like, oh, I'm still saying the same thing.
Yeah.
So it gets old and it gets boring. And I will tell you what, when it gets old and boring to you, it gets old and boring to your audience.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
And when you have that little bit of nervousness, that crackle, oh my gosh, wait till I tell you what I'm sharing. I'm not sure how this is going to go, but you've got that excitement. It works so good because your audience can feel that, especially since we're talking about junior high and high school kids. They can pick up on that right away. Today, I told a story I've told a million times, literally probably a million times.
Yeah.
And it's still exciting to me to add a new little piece or add something that enhances it. So the nerves are there to help you out. Once you lose that, you got to be careful, because then you'll start telling the same boring stuff over and over again.
Yeah, that's so true, because I just told a new joke today.
Did you? Oh, yeah.
Similar joke, but I tried out a new punchline. And it's so funny when you're trying out a new punchline for a joke, and the whole time in the presentation, like until that part, you're doing your presentation, but your mind's kind of like, say that punchline right, say that punchline right.
Yeah.
And then boom, you either do or don't.
Yeah.
Either way, honestly, it's great.
Yeah.
Either way, it's great. That specific joke, I've been trying out different punchlines.
I know you have, yeah. And you got it down.
Yesterday, I tried a punchline that somehow I messed up saying a word I've never messed up saying, and like in the middle of it, I choked, and I was like, dang it. But the audience doesn't, And then what's cool is the next time when you do get it, it's even better.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that.
So getting on the other side of nervousness, that's where the money's at.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Next question. I keep talking myself out of speaking opportunities because of that little voice in my head saying I'm not ready or I'll mess it up. How do I get past that? Ooh, the inner critic.
Yeah. Do you want to take that one?
Yeah.
Okay, and then
Yeah, inner critic is a tough one for sure. Yeah, I would say twofold. Number one, understand that you're probably a lot harsher on yourself than other people are going to be, right? We've all kind of heard that, and it is true, and it's worth, reminding. I would say the second thing, honestly, and I think this is a little bit overlooked, but if you're having an inner critic that's saying, you're not ready or your presentation's not good, right? Take a step back and evaluate. And maybe your presentation is good enough. And maybe you do need to just get out there and do your presentation.
Right.
Also, maybe that's a sign that you do need to work on your presentation more.
Right.
And so it's not always just shut out the inner critic, right? Because that inner voice sometimes is giving you really good information.
Yes.
Where it's like, if I tell a story that I always wanted to get a laugh, and sometimes it doesn't get a good laugh, right? And then I go home and I'm kind of beating myself up about it.
Right.
And I'm like, I wish I had done better. I wish I had done better. Well, guess what? Do better.
Do better.
Next time, do a little better.
Right.
And you have grace for yourself as you're doing better, right? Because that's, you got to take the first step to get to the next one.
Right.
And we all start at level 1.
Right.
And we all move up as best as we can, right? So have grace for yourself. Also, keep improving.
Mhm.
I mean, if this person feels like they're talking themselves out of speaking opportunities.
Mhm.
So if they're getting opportunities, I would say take one,
Mhm. Yeah.
take one and do it your absolute best.
Right.
And then re-critique afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's all about finding that balance of judging yourself properly, right? Not having a big head of, I have the best presentation, and not beating yourself down like my presentation is trash.
Right.
Find that spot in the middle, that realistic, okay, I'm at a C+, I want to get to a B-.
Right.
And then take the opportunity and then reevaluate. And there's always going to be another opportunity, unless you give up, right?
Yeah. That's
so take them, keep moving, keep getting better, and
The part of that question that really bothers me is where they say they keep talking themselves out of speaking engagements. Because somewhere somebody must be asking them to do speaking engagements. Somewhere along this line, somebody thought, I think this person is good enough to talk to my kids. I think this person's good enough to talk at our youth group or my classroom or our after school program. And if they can see it, you need to see it. Because I am never going to put a speaker up there that I think they're going to do terrible. I'm going to bring somebody in that I know, maybe they're young, it's their first time around. I'll help them shape it up or all of that. But if you keep saying no to all of those speaking engagements, eventually they stop. Eventually somebody's going to go, you know what? I've asked them before. I'm not going to ask them again because they keep saying no over and over again. And I'll tell you what is the worst thing. This one is terrible on both ends, is if you say yes to speaking engagement and then a couple of weeks later, you're so nervous, you say no. If you do that, they're never going to ask you to come back again. So that's the thing. So you definitely listen to your inner critic a little bit. See what it's saying, evaluate it, and then go, I believe you, so I'm going to make changes on what you're saying. Or you listen to your inner critic and say, you're completely wrong. Right? And
That's great. Let me ask you this about this person. Let's say they're deciding whether or not to take a speaking opportunity. And someone's like, hey, I want you to speak, right? And they're like deciding between, if I say yes and I really mess up and I wasn't ready and I should have said no, right? Or if I say no and then maybe they're stuck in that constant preparation phase where they're just reworking it, not realizing part of working it is getting out there and getting feedback, right? Which option, how do they know which option is the right one to take?
Oh, I would always take the speaking engagement.
Oh, really?
Always take the speaking engagement. Because they're not going to go, hey, in 15 minutes, I need you to speak. They're going to say, listen, in 2 weeks, I want you to talk to my youth group or I want you to talk to my classroom. And so what do you do for those next 2 weeks is you jam. And if you don't have a deadline, if you don't have something that's going to push you off the edge and get you into speaking, you're never going to do it. And so I remember when I went and I got my message down and all that, and then I got my first speaking engagement. And it was like, hey, we want you to come up in 2 months and talk to our kids about drugs and alcohol. I'm like, oh my gosh, I now have 2 months, And do you remember when you were in school and the teacher would say, okay, 30 days from now, I want you to bring in a model of the working digestive system, right? And you're like, in your head, like, oh, I got 30 days.
Oh, I got 30 days. I got plenty of time.
Right.
I'll spend this week preparing, next week shopping, putting it together.
And then you sit up like, it's due tomorrow.
Right? And then you're like banging on your mom's door, like, Mom, where can I get some plastic intestines and glitter glue?
I need it in the morning.
That's so funny.
But the thing is, if you know you have 2 months, what I would do is like, okay, what are the 3 points I want to make? That's going to be day 1, 2, 3 before. And then, all right, let me put my information to that. And then the last, if you have 2 months to prepare, the last 2 weeks, it's set. Don't try to change it at that point, and you're just rehearsing that over and over again. Always take the speaking engagement. Always.
I love that. Yeah. And then I would say, let's talk worst case scenario. Let's say they take the speaking engagement 2 weeks from now and they do that procrastination thing, right? And they're like, I'm gonna rehearse it. I didn't. I'm gonna rehearse. I didn't. And then the speaking engagement's tomorrow.
Right.
And it goes really not great. You know, and then, you know, the sponsor probably comes up and they're like, oh, thank you, you know, and you walk away like, you know.
Right.
I feel like, what did they do after that? How could they kind of get themselves geared up for
the next one?
That was bad.
Yeah.
Let me do better.
Yeah.
That's a tricky spot right there.
Oh man, that is really tricky because then it shoots your confidence down. It shoots all of that down, you know? And so what I would do is I would like give it a little rest. And then maybe 3 days later, whoever brought you in, say, hey, can I just take you out for lunch? Can I get you a cup of coffee? I want to be a speaker. I want to get better. I feel like it could have went better, but what do you think? You know,
that's beautiful. I
and
love that.
you have to not be afraid of the criticism. And so here's what I've seen most speakers do, and I want to make an episode on this, is criticism. Because I, in my speaking career, have always had somewhere along the line, once a year, somebody will come up and go, what you're doing is wrong, or what you're saying is wrong, and I can just sit there and go, oh, I've been doing it for 36 years. I know exactly what I always take their criticism, always. I listen to it. Sometimes I write it down. I validate what they're saying, right? And then I go back and I really analyze it. And most people just say, no, they're wrong and move on. They might not be wrong,
right?
You know, and so that's what you need to do. So if you do a bad job, figure out how can I do better next time, and then you'll do better, and then you'll do better.
I love that. And then the other thing too about taking their criticism is if they're wrong, which that definitely happens.
Right.
Give you critique and
Yeah.
it is incorrect. The proof will always show itself.
Yes.
So if they're wrong and you continue doing what you're doing and you're getting laughs and everyone, like, you know, 200 people love it and the one person doesn't, you know, then you know.
Yeah.
Or if you change and your presentation gets less positive, right? Like, let's say you take their criticism and you're like, okay, I'm going to cut that story out. And then you're not getting as much laughs. You're not getting as much, you know, response.
Impact.
Yeah. Then you know, oh, they were wrong. Well, let me pop that story back in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, sometimes I feel that they criticize you, and you can always hear like the spirit that they're coming in. There's the, you're terrible, or the, hey, this might be better, or let me help you. And so you got to see what that is. But what happens is I feel a lot of times, sometimes people are a little bit jealous that you're doing it. Yeah. And it's easier to critique them, you know.
Yeah, that's so true.
Quick story, man. I remember when I first started, it's probably about the 4th year in, I had somebody that I feel was jealous, but they came to me with this big, huge criticism. And it was like one of those yellow legal pads with a whole page full of stuff. And man, they just like, you did this wrong, you did this wrong, you did this wrong. And then I was like, well, what do you think I should change? And like, I don't know, but those were all wrong, you know. So I went back, evaluated, made changes. And then about 2 years later, I ran into that person again. And I just wanted to get my little revenge, you know. And I said, you know, those things that you said, I took them to heart and I did them. And now I'm making more money. And I want to thank you for that.
I love that, because then it's like so positive.
Yeah.
But then it probably made them feel like even a little bit worse. They should feel happy, like, because I would feel happy, but I would critique someone from a good heart, you know. So if someone came to me like, oh, I took the feedback, I'd be like, great. But yeah, if they came to you out of kindness, that's hilarious, dude. I love that.
Thank you. I'm making more money because of what you gave me.
That's so funny.
And it just was like, oh, okay.
That's super funny.
Yeah.
All right. Last question for today. I've heard people say that you can turn fear into fuel.
Yes.
But I have no idea how to actually do that.
We don't either. Thanks for watching.
My nerves just feel like nerves. How do you turn that into power when you're on the stage? Wow.
Oh, that's really good. Yeah. So turning fear into fuel, right? And so it's going to come down to planning. Let's apply that to something else. Let's apply it to people coming over for dinner. Okay. So the fear is you're not a great cook.
Right.
Okay. And you have 7 people that are going to come in, maybe your new in-laws or, you know, some new friends that you met. And so there's that fear, right? I'm not a good cook. Why did I invite everybody over for dinner? Well, then there's steps that you can take to empower that. So the fear is the fuel, and what you're going to feed it with, or what you're going to quench it with, is going to be knowledge. And so you're going to say, all right, I'm going to plan this dinner. Oh man, that dinner is way out of my realm of experience. So I'm going to back it off a little bit, and I'm going to make something that I know. So when it comes to fear and fuel, start talking about the stuff you know about.
Right.
The things that you experience, the things that you've gone through. Don't start talking about some deep math, equation you know nothing about.
Unless that's your thing.
Unless that's your thing, yeah. But if you are talking about, we just met a guy who had a crazy backstory where him and his dad used to run drugs when he was a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, if you just spoke on that, how hard would that be? He goes, I lived it.
Mm-hmm.
It would be easy for me to do that. I'm like, there's your fuel. There, take all that fear of standing in front of kids and then start building knowledge on that. So knowledge helps to quench fuel or fear.
Yeah. Play the hits.
Yeah.
Play the hits.
Play the hits.
Well, and if you think about let's think about a stand-up comedian who got a special on Netflix.
Okay.
Right. And so it's easy for us to look at that and go, oh, well, they're a great comedian and they have this great Netflix special. Uh-huh. And what we don't see is all of the shows they did before, right?
Yes.
Not only all of the preparing and the writing and the testing it out with family and testing it out with friends, but the shows.
Yes.
Because before they got the Netflix deal, they probably, did shows all across the country, probably a whole tour. Probably some of them got laughs, some of them didn't, right? You got to reevaluate. And so, it's easy for us to overlook all of those little shows and those little backstories.
Right.
So not that every presentation isn't important, because every presentation you're impacting people, you're sharing your message. So they're all very important. Also, play the hits and then figure out how to turn the stuff that is your B material into your hits.
Yeah. I love that. Play the hits. Yeah, definitely. Because how easy would it be for me to talk about air travel? I do it all the time.
Right.
Or how easy would it be for you to talk about meal prepping? Because you do that all the time, right? I mean, that would be your hits. So so take that fear and turn it into fuel by using knowledge to make that transition.
Yeah.
Right?
And there's also nothing wrong with, especially in this industry, having those moments where you kind of gas yourself up.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with, I have a couple of jokes that I'm still working on, and I've got a couple of jokes that are, the heavy hitters.
Right.
And so sometimes when I'm not in a good headspace, I just really focus on the good feedback.
Right.
And I you should always take both.
Right.
But there are for sure times where you can just oh, that one joke was great.
Yes. Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah.
Or man, that one student who came up afterwards, that student loved it. So one thing I'll kind of do too is sometimes when I'm scanning over the audience, as we're first starting speaking, I'll kind of find one or two students that I feel like I would really align with.
Yeah.
Or
do they have this face?
Yeah. The ones where they're waiting to laugh.
Yeah. And they're ready to clap. Yeah.
And then when I have my jokes where maybe this presentation specifically, I'm not in a perfect headspace. I'm not in a receiving bad feedback headspace, which is okay. So sometimes I'll find those students and look at them specifically so that I feel like I have a mental safe space.
Yes. Yeah.
Or sometimes another thing I'll do is I'll kind of this one the audience can feel, so I don't use this one very often. But sometimes if I have a joke that I'm not sure how it'll go over, I'll kind of look at the back wall while I tell that joke.
Oh, that's good thinking.
That way I don't have to directly receive any negative feedback.
Right.
I don't recommend shutting out negative feedback on the regular, but if you're going into a presentation where you're in a bad headspace, still do the presentation as absolute best you can.
Right.
There's also a time to protect your headspace because the more positive feedback you get is going to make you feel better.
Right.
So it's the kind of thing where you have to get strong at the beginning, right? The beginning is the hard part.
Right.
And once you can push through those nerves and push through, the first probably year or couple of years of figuring it out, well, then you're going to get more positive feedback and then more and then more and then more. And then before you know it, you're going to know exactly what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then that's when the nerves really become more of, you were saying, more of an excitement than fear. So I guess when it comes to turning fear into fuel, I think a lot of the other things we talked about kind of tie into it, where it's a lot of understand you're going to be nervous, understand you're going to have to push through probably a lot of presentations where you're nervous, and then understand that on the other side of that, when you do push through and when you do the work and you do the presentations and you refine the jokes and you take the feedback, oh, it's so much better on the other end, because then you feel excited instead of nervous.
Yeah, man, I love all that. I think we did a good job answering these questions today.
Yeah.
And I love it because there are people that want to get out there and speak. They want to talk to youth. They want to change lives, but they're not sure how to do it. So, man, I cannot encourage you to keep watching all of our podcasts. And especially if you want to speak to youth and you want to go from, square one to square 10 and skip all the other ones, but know what's there, then that's where you need to check out the Youth Speaker Blueprint, because we cover all of this. And the big one that I really want people to get a hold of is, how do you tell a scary story? How do you tell a story about you doing something crazy without kids going, yeah, I want to try that. That sounds awesome. Because that's where it gets really dangerous. And that's where schools will look at it and go, I don't know if we should have this guy back. We do such a great job at what we do and what we built into the Youth Speaker Blueprint. I know this is going to sound crazy, but 92% of the campuses that we walk off want us back immediately. We just finished speaking about 45 minutes ago. As we were walking out the door, the principal literally looked at us and go, can you guys come back next year? I'm like, yeah, we'll come back next year, right? So we know we have business built in.
Let me ask you this.
Yes.
I know we're kind of done with the 3 questions, but on that note, what was it like for you at the very beginning before you had that return rate? What was it, or like, what was it like at the beginning? Did you ever have presentations where you were nervous and they did not want you back?
Oh, yeah. I had one school district that will never have me back.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it just went so horribly wrong. And that was at the beginning. And that's when I realized, and I want to do a show on this, what I want to call the anatomy of an introduction. So my introduction did not match the energy that the youth had. And it was like if you took, if you were jumping hurdles, you ever seen those videos where people are jumping hurdles and they hit the first one and they mess up and then they hit the second one? That was me. And it was a disaster, a disaster. It was so bad that the person that brought me in, I didn't know they were following me. And I went into a grocery store or a gas station. And when I got out of the car, the lady came back and she goes, I just want you to know that was terrible. That was she goes, I don't even know how we're going to bill this in the grant and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, I wrote her an apology email, but none of that helped because I think they lost money on that. So I had to change what I was doing. Yeah. Maybe we should just do one on disaster stories that I've gone through.
Honestly, that would be a good podcast. Yeah. I think that would help a lot of people feel like, oh, wow, if it happened to him, maybe I'll be okay.
Oh, you will.
Yeah, you will, definitely. Oh, great. Well, you guys, thank you so much for watching today. And if you have questions about public speaking, or even if you just want a little encouragement, shoot us a DM, email us, and we will see you guys next time.
Put something in the comments.
Oh, yeah.
Right there.
Right in the comments.
All right. Talk to you later.